Yo, yo, yo. What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Life Malcolm Show right here on In Touch News Radio, where everybody is a star and the biggest star is you. And of course, I am your host, Life Malcolm. And as is my custom, I gotta give a big shout out. Wait, DJ, cut the music. You already know that we're a little late, like that sound, but we're a little late this evening. But hey, you had a lot of things going on today, and I'm not going to belabor you with the details because, as you can probably see, we have some guests in the house. But I just want to let you know I'm always very respectful and mindful of your time and do my absolute best to get here on time so we can start the conversations when we say we will. But as is my custom, I got to give a big shout out to In Touch News Radio family and my main man, DJ CEO, and Mrs. DJ CEO for putting this program, putting this platform together, allowing this program to exist. And definitely want to appreciate all of you all for tuning in when you do, whether it's live or later. Definitely appreciate that as well. Tonight, I had this whole thing I was going to tell y'all about. I had some incredible stuff happen over this past weekend, but we'll just have to talk about it next time we convene, because tonight I have a couple of guests in the building. Now, I'm going to tell you, I know one of them, and the other one I have no idea who she is, really. I just know her first name, and that's not true. I know a little bit about her, but I'm going to let my man Alvaro, y'all seen Alvaro before. Alvaro's been a guest on the Life Malcolm Show at least once, maybe twice, and he introduced me in a very quick fashion to the young lady sitting next to me, and her name is Ruth. And it's my understanding that Ruth is very active in the local area and throughout the U.S., championing things like homelessness, and I'm going to be quiet before I mess up and let Alvaro tell you more about Ruth, and then we're just going to jump into a conversation. How about that, Alvaro? Can you help me out?
Yes, well, I'll tell you, I was going by Sarasota one time a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, and I saw this group demonstrating in a corner. And I liked what their posters were saying. You know, I said, "Wow, man, this is pretty nice. I haven't seen this kind of thing in a long time." And it was Ruth and their group in a corner fighting over issues related to housing and things like that. And then I paid attention, and right now Ruth is involved in a whole lot of things, including her and the group coming out in a program called COVID, Race, and Democracy, which airs in California, in New York, and in several other places. People are noticing the work that they're doing as a group of a lot of young people, doing a lot of good work.
All right, thank you so much, Alvaro, for the introduction. So, everybody, welcome to the program, Ruth.
All right, Ruth.
Yeah. Oh, the man behind the board is going. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Thank you, and thanks for having me today. I'm very excited to be here and to share about the work that we are doing and to inform listeners of ways that they can get involved in the community, because it's time to get involved.
So first, tell me where you're from.
Yes, so I'm a community organizer. I was born in the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
And we immigrated to the Bronx. So I grew up in the Bronx until past high school. Then I moved to Central New York, which is Syracuse, New York. Many people don't know, but yes, New York City is not the entire state of New York. There is actually majority of the state that is countryside. Yeah. So I moved there, and then I have been here for, it's going to be 10 years that I'm here in Florida.
Okay, all right. What brought you to Florida?
So I came to Florida with family and then decided to stay. It was a way of getting out of the, 20 to 30 feet of snow that we regularly get in Syracuse. But through organizing, I was able to continue to organize here.
Okay.
Yes, I am a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, so we are socialists. Okay. But we spend the majority of our time doing community organizer. I would say about 95% of what we do is community organizing for the many issues that are impacting our community. We don't focus too much on elections at this point.
Okay, so speaking of elections, did you vote?
Yes,
Okay,
I
all right.
did vote.
I won't ask you who you voted for. I know a lot of people want to keep that stuff private.
Yes. I mean, I wish we had better options, you know?
Of course.
It seems that we're constantly voting against the best of two evils, but it'll be nice to not have an evil from time to time, to have someone, you know, who can actually change things.
So,
Yeah.
you're setting yourself up for election?
Myself?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, so I like to put a lot of emphasis into helping people understand that we will not find liberation inside of this capitalist system.
Absolutely not.
There is not. You know, I as a community organizer, I've been doing it for about 14 years now. And, you know, I was very hopeful. I was very involved in campaigns before, political campaigns. And after years and years go by, you know, we have Obama that came to power, and then he left and someone else came. I got to the realization that not only I have spent 14 years of my life doing community organizing, but think about our ancestors, the generations of people. If we look at just the last 100 years alone, we don't have to go too far. The generations of people that have spent their time doing community organizing and organizing for reforms. It's millions of us,
Yeah,
you know, even now in the country. But at some point, I realized that we continue to be hopeful about this candidate and that candidate, when in reality, the reality of our conditions call for a change in the entire system. Because if we can change the entire system, we will solve 99% of our problems, and then we no longer have to go one at a time.
You familiar with the African People's Socialist Party?
Yes,
Okay,
I am.
and
Yeah,
So you're familiar with Chairman O'Malley?
Yes.
Now, of course, you know,
Yes.
Chairman 100% believes that we have to overturn this colonial capitalist system and, you know, change the entire colonial mode of production.
Yes.
And one of the things that Chairman also talks about is the importance of, even with that goal in mind, that finality in mind, we have to create democratic space in order to get that job done. And so when you said a bit ago that, you know, this whole idea of the lesser of two evils has been something that's plagued us for most of the elections that we've seen, you know, the idea is we have to put ourselves, you know, in those spots, you know, because we will at least be not one of the two evils, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so that's why I asked that question. You know, Chairman ran for mayor before, and like I think he won all the black votes in St. Petersburg. The African People's Socialist Party ran a candidate named Jesse Neville for mayor not too long ago, and Akilah Anai for
Akilah
city
Brown,
council,
yeah.
right? So I mean, that's a strategy to put people who, even if the status quo won't elect us, we can still change the discussion that that candidates have when they have these debates when they're out in public, because it wasn't before the African People's Socialist Party ran Jesse Neville and Akilah Anai that the question of reparations was on a ballot in a mainstream election, you know. And so there's some, of course, can't reform the system. You got to overturn the system, but I think there's something to be said about making sure that we claim territory everywhere we can, even in you know, this so-called democratic process of voting.
You mentioned St. Pete, and it really makes me wonder if one of them will have won, how different the conditions in St. Pete will be compared to the mayor that we have right now, who's voting down anything that has to do with the people, but he votes for everything that has to do with corporate businesses, you know? So I know that they will have voted completely different, and our reality will be different if we had one of them versus the mayor that we have now in St. Pete.
No doubt about it. And it's you know, one of the things you said that kind of stuck with me too is about how our ancestors worked doing community organizing for reform. And I think that that's true for a certain sector of our, you know, ancestors, but others of us, working class, you know, who were socialist minded, you know, worked, if you will, in the street, in the bush, you know. Before, as a matter of fact, Chairman pointed out in this conference we just had in D.C. this past weekend that, before we could vote at the ballot box, we voted, from the bush, and that's what made white people say, no, give these people the damn ballot because they keep kicking our ass from the bush. So, but by that time, by the time they gave us the so-called right to vote at the ballot box, they killed all the options that we had, that would have overturned things like, they killed Malcolm, killed King, killed Fred, that kind of thing, and Fred Hampton. And so, left us with, killed many members of the Black Panther Party and imprisoned the rest.
Yeah.
And so left us nothing with these stooges in the Democratic Party as something to vote for once they finally gave us this right to vote. So I think many of our ancestors understood that the vote didn't think that the vote was a finality, just thought it was a tool because they see it work for the status quo. But the vote only works to keep the people in power and keep the system rolling. So Obama did not come to power. White people put him there. The chairman calls it the selection of Barack Obama. And it was white power and blackface, if chairman had to tell it. But tell me more about this organization that you work with now.
So right now I work with the Party for Socialism and Liberation,
Okay.
and like I mentioned, our primary focus nationwide, not only here in Florida, is doing community organizing and helping fight back against, the different issues that impact our lives. And we work in connection with unions. So, for example, we work very closely with the Sanpete Tenants Union, at the Tampa Tenants Union, and we just started a Minnesota Tenants Union in Bradenton and Sanpete. We work in coalition with other organizations. So we do spend the majority of our time just fighting for reform.
What's your role in that organization?
I'm part of the steering committee in the Party for Socialism and Liberation, yes.
And how long has the Party for Socialism and Liberation been around?
We have been around since 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, it was formed a very long time ago, but we were growing slowly, in the new uprising of 2020. And, well, let's talk about Bernie, right? It started with Bernie and then the uprising in 2020 against police brutality. And we have been growing very steadily and doing just really good work and helping raise the consciousness of people so that they understand that we can have a different world in reality if we just had a different government. That the problem is not just, this politician or that politician, but it is that we in fact need a reorganization of our society.
Yeah, I mean,
not to prioritize profit, because that's our organization right now. It's under capitalism. Profit is prioritized at all levels. That means that companies can, get our water, right? And they charge us for it. Would you like some clean water? You have to buy bottles of water. Yeah. They are able to damage the environment like we see now.
Yeah.
Red tide, that was a complete result of corporations. Everything that is done for profit, basically. If it's profitable, we do it. If it is not profitable, we don't do it. But we can change that.
Yeah, I think Alvaro wanted to say something.
I wanted to say that this version of the party is very young, but I remember them from 1980s, sometime 1981, 81. Their parent party, they broke off from another group, Workers' World Party.
Okay.
And I remember them when I first met them. I was at Rutgers University in Newark, and they contacted us and they said, hey, we're doing this event. First, we care very much about the event. They were going to do a demonstration against the war in El Salvador.
Okay.
And we could see by the way they were organizing and the mood and the people and all that stuff that it was going to turn out very well. And they wanted we controlled the building that belonged to Rutgers University to do community work. The black students right next to us controlled another building. So we used to do a lot of work together.
Okay.
And so these people came and they said, look, we're putting this together, but we need a space. We need space. And so we had a room about this big. We gave him the room, and we gave him a telephone line. At that time, it was hooked to the wall.
Okay.
And they came in, they installed another line. In a matter of about 6 weeks or so, they organized 35 buses from New Jersey to go there. About 200,000 people or more attended. This was a demonstration to the Pentagon, and there were other groups that were saying, no, don't go there. You're looking for conflict. You don't want to go to the Capitol or something like that. I said, no, we want to go to the people that are creating the war that's where we want to go. And there was like clashes, all these right-wing groups, just like now, they didn't go with weapons, but they were there. And the Moonies were there, all the right-wing organizations were there, the Klan was there, a whole lot of groups against this one. And there was there was fight, there was a clash and stuff like that. So that's the history. And other times, one time they held another event at the Jacob Javits in New York.
Okay.
Where apparently there were negotiations with Cuba to bring Fidel. So people, Fidel, like all the Cubans from Miami rented buses and were up there, and thousands of people around this place, for this event. And
did he make it?
Fidel did not come, but the event turned out very well. And so these people were very, very good organizers. So
I appreciate
they broke off from a very good group.
But I'm glad you said something about the phone line, because I did not mention that this is a call-in show. And if you want to, you can call in and talk to Alvaro or Ruth. You can talk to me, too. The call-in number is 813-444-9588. 813-444-9588. So go ahead and give us a call on the other side of the break. We'll be right back. This is the Life Malcolm Show, y'all.
Love being number one. When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Ray Williams Funeral Home, providing the highest quality, professional, and caring service for your family. Call Jeffrey Rose at 813-253-3419. That's 813-253-3419. Or visit him at 301 North Howard Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Ray Williams Funeral Home, for the finest care and quality service.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Welcome back, world, to the Life Malcolm Show right here on In Touch News Radio, where everybody is a star and the biggest star is you. Of course, I'm your host, Life Malcolm, and this is a call-in show, 813-444-9588. If you missed us before the break, let me kind of catch up to speed. I'm sitting here with Ruth. That's all I know, Ruth. Like in the Bible, it's like, just one name, Ruth. And I know that Ruth is a member of the steering committee for the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
all right, Party for Socialism and Liberation. And on the other side of Ruth is my man Alvaro. Also, he got a last name that I don't want to try to mess up right now. But my main man Alvaro, who's been here on the Life Malcolm Show before, brought Ruth here to the program, and Ruth's been telling us about some of the work that her party and has been involved in throughout Florida and various places around the country. And just kind of want to jump into some of the work you do in more detail. It's my understanding that you do some work, your party does work around housing?
Yes. So, I'm sure people know that there is a crazy housing emergency here in not only the Tampa Bay area in Florida, but also throughout the country.
Well, let's not assume people know. Why don't you say something about the housing emergency?
Yes. So what renters are facing is, over 32% increase in rent. What I have seen through the organizing that we have done is that people are receiving anywhere from a $200 a month rent increase to even a $1,000 rent increase. And this came at a time when wages did not go up at all. If you think about it, inflation has been going up. We are paying more for housing, for food, for care, for just about everything, right? I think some people joke with it and call it the COVID tax, where we are paying absolutely more for everything. For no reason at all, right? Just because COVID was here or something like that. But people are facing just a lot of difficulties. We have a lot of workers that are leaving the city, that are leaving the state of Florida also, because they are not able to find affordable housing. There is just no affordable housing in the area. And it gets worse if you go to other places like St. Pete, Sarasota, Bradenton area has even a worse problem. And a lot of people used to leave cities before and move a little bit further away into the suburbs. And what we have to realize is that even those properties are becoming unaffordable. So people that are receiving these 200, 300, 500 rent increases, they have no way to make up those funds. Yeah. Many of them are already working 2 jobs. Many of them are already working more than 2 jobs, 3 jobs to make ends meet. And when something like that happens, or they have nowhere to go. And another thing that we are seeing is that many renters have been facing eviction because landlords have realized, particularly corporate landlords, have realized that they can just kick out the person that's there now and then just do the rent increase on the next person or double the rent for the next person. So people have really been struggling when it comes to that. And we have about, in St. Pete, there are about 3,000 children who are houseless right now.
Wow.
3,000 children. That's only St. Pete. Pinellas County. That does not include Tampa, Bradenton, and all the surrounding areas that we have. But it's a great crisis that's really damaging our community, and it's displacing people because people are having to leave.
And not just displacing, but it also seems like replacing people, because I live in Tampa, in the Tampa Heights area, and everywhere I go, I just see new buildings, like new housing development or construction, whatever. I don't know what to call it. Just a house just pops up, or a condo. I don't know what these things are, little apartments, whatever, but it's just these 2-story wood frame buildings just keep popping up everywhere. And, you see white people sitting outside eating food and walking dogs, and, what used to be African community is, like I always said I would never move to a white community, but I live in a white community because the white community moved to me. And so it's not just displacing people, but also replacing those people. And, it's not like they go away and it's abandoned, right? Although there's this housing crisis, there are all these houses, all these houses erected all around the city, and we don't live in those houses, And so it's a symbiosis, if you will, I guess. Some people pushed out to usher some people in.
It's gentrification, really, if we call it correctly.
Right.
That's exactly what's happening. Yeah. So there have been just major suffering with people when it comes to that. So we have been very involved in going to city council and advocating for things like rent control, which is something that we used to have in the past. Like we've had rent control where they just put a limit. For example, I'll give you one example that we were advocating for, where landlords cannot raise the rent more than 10%. And then if they do, and the person, the tenant is not able to afford that, then the landlord should have to give them enough notice and time, and maybe even rehousing, help rehouse them so that they are able to move.
How has that idea been received by the other councils that you've proposed it to?
Yes, so here in Tampa, they have taken some steps. So now there is a tenant office of advocacy.
Okay.
That my understanding is, there is a phone number and somewhere that people can call. But it is just a place that they can connect you to resources. So we haven't seen, there was a discussion of rent control as well in Tampa, but the discussion was more in the terms of, do we put it on the ballot? Right? And that has been a big push. Let's put it on the ballot because we know that the people of Florida will vote for rent control because they are, majority of people are really suffering.
Right.
But we have received a lot of pushback as well. In Tampa, they do not want that, And what we have noticed too, both in Tampa and in St. Pete, is that anytime we have these meetings, Bay Area Apartment Association is one of the big, corporate landlord association. They fly people in. Yes, and they bring people from other parts of the state to push back, and the pushback has been tremendous. Like a tremendous, not only bringing people to the actual meeting, but working very closely with the mayor. Working very closely with the mayor to make sure that there is no relief for the suffering that people are going through right now.
So they probably bring in big poster boards and PowerPoints
Attorneys.
and all this kind of stuff
Yes.
that kind of make it seem logical and sensible that this kind of suffering continues, and it somehow is best for the city, right?
Yes, and it's comical
The
because
council people too are pretty. Some of them are developers themselves.
yes,
And then and in St. Petersburg, one woman is actually a renter, but she was wholeheartedly for all this. For the landlords.
yeah, yes, and so yes, we have realtors and people that it's really a true conflict of interest that they are able to vote when it directly affects their pocket. If we are honest, another thing that I'd like to highlight is the fact that when it comes to companies, right? So they are saying we cannot do rent control because, landlords have, an example, things that have been mentioned at city council meetings, they have, insurance is going up, right? So there's concern for the expenses that landlords have. But where is the concern for the expenses that people have?
Right.
Where is the concern for that $700 rent increase that you cannot afford? And that when you say, okay, I cannot afford that, let me find somewhere else to live, it's impossible for you to find somewhere else to live, And a lot of people are living in multi-generational homes because they have no other choice. A lot of people are having roommates. We are already living in a very difficult situation because our people are packed together, which we know became a problem when it came to COVID. Because a lot of people got sick and died out of that. The fact that it was impossible to isolate yourself.
Right.
So when it comes to the common council, the city council, some of them are in favor, but there have been a really bad pushback. And what I mentioned is not only the only topic, but we have things like advocating for the right to counsel so that everyone who's facing an eviction can have an attorney.
Right.
In New York City, it was shown that when people were given an attorney, right? And when I say that, I mean a free attorney. Yes, I mean that, right? Because we know the working class who's receiving these rent increases cannot afford,
Right.
thousands of dollars in attorneys. But in New York City, when they did it, 86% of tenants were able to won their evictions and were able to stay at home.
Wow.
So we do have a lot of things that can be done. We can also increase the amount of notice, the time requirement for when landlords are required to give notice to their tenants. Right now, a landlord can give you a 15-day notice and tell you in 15 days, you need to have somewhere to live because I'm ending your lease and you need to be out. Just imagine that, the chaos for someone who's working full-time, may have children or not. What involves
Not working.
Exactly. Not working, disabled, which is something that we have been advocating for a lot because we have disabled people just basically staying in the streets. One of them, unfortunately, because he was pushed out, he was packing to leave in that hurry, and he fell and he died. And he died as a result of that eviction that shouldn't have happened. That should not have happened.
So how do you? I know you participate in city council meetings and I guess perhaps like town hall meetings and things like that, right? How does your organization, you in particular, get the word out to the people so people can, they say something like there's power in numbers. So how do you all bring people to these meetings or get the results of these conversations to the people?
So we have the tenants union, and in the housing struggle in particular, we can go through the tenants union because I know they're the people that we are reaching are mainly renters and the right people that we should have there. So we do it through the tenants union, but also through work organizing or coalition organizing. So in St. Pete, we were working through the People's Council, which was comprised of a number of organizations, and even the labor union for the city employees was a part of it too. And we use social media. We also put up protests. We do educational forums so that people can learn about the different options and the different things that are, that city council could pass literally today. Like if they had any will that are very tangible things that can help us keep people in their homes and provide more housing. You know, there has to be affordable housing. In this area, we know that many of the houses that are going up for sale are being bought by people who don't even live here. You know, people that are in states that pay well. Therefore, they have a lot of money saved up, and sometimes they are able to buy in cash, or even if they are not able to buy in cash, they are able to come and buy at a time where Floridians don't have the same opportunity, because in our state, you know, our minimum wage is about $10 an hour now, and that's if you work over 40 hours. If you work less than that, $7.25 is all that is enforced, you know? So that's the way that we reach the people. And we have been able to do, we did a tent city in St. Pete. It was very, very intense. And we also worked with attorneys from Miami that we're already pushing for rent control, and that we're a little bit more advanced in the campaign than we were. Yes.
So, sounds like I hear the music. It signals that we have to take a break. I really appreciate this discussion. It's been very informative for me. I mean, I didn't realize that there were so many tools available to the people, or to the council to help people. You know, I didn't realize that. And I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I know there's some other things that the party does, and I want to talk about those things too. When we come back after the break, this is the Life Malcolm Show right here on In Touch News Radio. We'll be back.
This is the recipe you've been waiting for. A little touch of smooth mixed with a big touch of soul.
This is how we do it.
We are In Touch Radio.
Hello, I'm Rob Perry with Solar Energy Loan Fund, and we can help you finance your energy needs. If you need a new air conditioner, roof, solar panels, windows, doors, weatherization, having plumbing issues, the Solar Energy Loan Fund can help you with that. Even if your credit isn't the best, we will be able to help you replace that old air conditioner or get that roof replaced. Again, my name is Rob Perry. I'm with Solar Energy Loan Fund. I can be reached at 727-315-3223. Again, that's 727-315-3223. Looking to hear from you.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
All right. Welcome back, world, to the Life Malcolm Show. Again, I've been sitting here with this extremely exciting comrade, Ruth, and my other steadfast comrade, Alvaro, talking about the Party for Socialism and Liberation and the tremendous work they've done and they continue to do around the housing crisis and the tremendous work that they do. Giving me some direction, okay? Riling up ruffling, I should say, city councilmen's feathers and whatnot, and getting the word out to the people in order to overturn some of these crises that we see in this colonial capitalist society. And so, when we went to break, we talked a bit about like these tools that people can use, or at least that the council can use. Mm-hmm. And I think that if more people knew about those tools, they would perhaps feel more empowered, because a lot of us feel like we're hopeless and there's nothing that can be done, and people just get to do this stuff to them, right? And so I would love to get my hands on some of that information. I don't know if there's a link on your social media that just kind of lists all the things that city council can do. I would love something like that, because I think people feel empowered when they know they can do something, and hopeless and helpless when it seems like people say, well, that's just how it is, and things that's the way it's always going to be, as if we really can't turn this stuff over. I know that housing. So is there something like that
Yes.
on your social media? Okay,
Yes,
good.
yes, it is. Yeah,
All right,
definitely.
and I don't want to rush you, but we don't have a lot of time left. I think we have like 8 minutes left, but I know you do, I think, something for women's rights. I think you were talking about
Yes.
work with Roe v. Wade, and so I
Yes.
wanted to get some of that information to our listeners as well.
Yes, so I'm gonna label this defending democracy, right? Because that's really what we are doing. Our ancestors, and well, some of them are alive, so let's not call them that. The previous generations, we should call it, fought for many rights, and now we are seeing that are being rolled back. And Roe v. Wade is one of them, where now the unelected. Let's say that, right? Because the people did not choose the Supreme Court. The unelected Supreme Court is using their power to literally go against the will of the people. 72% of people in the United States support the right to abortion. However, politicians have now decided that they don't care, right? And that they are going to overturn Roe v. Wade as a way of control, really. It is a way not only of control, but also of criminalizing more people into
Absolutely.
this mass incarceration,
Yeah,
which
death
we know
camps,
this system greatly benefits from. So we have worked very, very heavily to not only fight back, but to show that that is not the consensus of the people. Right. People like Governor Ron DeSantis, we have to use him as an example because in Manatee County, the county commissioners tried to pass an abortion ban before Roe v. Wade was overturned. That was last year. And they were literally copying the same abortion ban that passed in Texas. And it was sent to them by Texas. We were able to find that out through Freedom of Information Act request. We were able to find the email and the entire law that was written, the entire ban that was written with our name on them and everything. Manatee County's name on it. It was delivered from Texas. So we know that these attacks, are an attack on democracy because the people voted. And right now, it is not a popular demand. So I was going to say that DeSantis and the Republicans, let's just say that, if they were to run on their platform, they will now pass. Their platform is not popular. People don't want to see abortion overturned. People don't want to see, infringing into the rights of people to vote. People don't want to see many of these things. So what they do is that they are relying on passing certain bans, like the abortion ban that passed there. If it had been successful in Manatee County, which it wasn't, they were going to try to duplicate it at a county level. That way they didn't have to do it on the state level because they know people would oppose it. But now, the Supreme Court overturned it, so now we have to fight. But it's a real big fight that we are fighting, and I am very happy. Like, I was so excited to see thousands of people, whether we did the protests in St. Pete, whether we did it in Tampa, whether we did it in Sarasota. It was hundreds of thousands of people that were coming out to defend the rights of women and to say, no, this is not what we want. We must come together. I think that's going to be the really big fight that we as the working class will have, is fighting to defend our democratic rights at all levels, because those are going to be rolled back big time.
So one of the things that, and I don't know if I said this already, I'm sure I did, and I know I mentioned Chairman O'Malley and the African People's Socialist Party, but I'm a member of the party and have been for quite some time. And even when I wasn't a member, I was still with the party. I've been with the party in some form or fashion since 2003. And one of the things that Chairman talked about this past weekend at the conference was that democracy is democracy for them, for the status quo, for the colonizer. Even when Greece, they uphold Greece as this highest display of what democracy is supposed to be, but at that same time they still had people. Only like 20% of the people in Greece were free. Everybody else were slaves. But so it was democracy for them. Even when they were, here in this country, hanging us, beating us, raping us, robbing us of everything that we have, killing indigenous people, they had so-called democracy. You dig? And so, but it was democracy for them. It didn't give a damn about my mama, using my mama like a cow and my grandfather like a plow. And so that's the same kind of thing that we have here. This so-called democracy is a democracy for them. The same vultures that descendants from those people, I'm glad, are ancestors of theirs.
Yeah, definitely. And live in a real democracy.
Right.
I think we have to say that, and we have to say that out loud.
Absolutely.
Because there is this facade that the United States is as democracy, and it's not.
Absolutely.
Here in the United States, there's absolutely no democracy, and I think the only right you really have to is like your right to die or something like. It's really the only right that people have.
Yeah.
You don't have the right to
live.
to health care if you're sick, even if you have cancer. There's no right to health care. There's no right to affordable housing. There's no right to a living wage. There's no right to not being exploited at work and being able to come home and take proper care of your family because you have some energy left and hopefully some money at the end of the month too. There's not real freedom. Our freedom is to buy consumer goods, and that's it. And to work depending on the job that you land, etc. But it's just really, really bad when it comes to that,
And I would just say, and I'm gonna give you the last word because we're coming to a close. But I mean, even that what you just said was so profound. Like, we have the right to die, but at the same time, we don't even have the right to live. I mean, as George Floyd, as
Yes.
Lavelle Mixon, I
Yes.
mean, you don't have the right to live. These white people can show up to your house and kill you dead. I mean, you could be like, what's his name? Botham John. He in his own house, after a long
Yes.
day of work, getting ready
Eating
to
ice
eat.
cream.
And she talking about and he don't even have the right to live in his own house, and that's the culture of violence that this colonial capitalist system foments. It turns men into beasts, and turns people many who call themselves politicians into the worst beasts of them all. And so I'm so glad that your party is working to bring society to a better place, a place of socialism and liberation. So I really want to thank you for being here, Alvaro. Thank you so much for bringing.
Thank you. Thank you for opening your shows to us.
Absolutely. And
Yes,
this is the audience. This is the audience. This is my new friend Ruth, and I'm gonna let her tell you everything you need to know about how to contact the party, how to
Yes.
contact her, how to get on social media. Take us away.
Yes, so we are Party for Socialism and Liberation Tampa Bay, and you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Facebook, and also on Instagram. We go by PSL Tampa Bay, and you can find us there. And my phone number is 315-877-0674. I also just want to encourage everyone to fight back. I really, through organizing, what I've gained is I'm away from that feeling of hopelessness and the feeling that we cannot do something to change our condition. I fight to bring people into the consciousness that if we unite, we are the 99%. We outnumber them like times fold. We outnumber them. All we need is number. All we need is the masses of people to understand that we can fight back and that we have the ability to fight back. And I'll give you a really quick example that I was using during Roe v. Wade, right? Because everybody was coming in the streets by very large numbers. And I said to myself, we are about 350 million people in the United States, right? So let's say 2 million of us show up to the White House, right? And we told the president to get out. What do you think will happen?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. So imagine.
I'm thinking the army and the bombs.
Not if we don't move, though, but we can impact. You know what I mean? Like if we get together with numbers, I alone, I'm not important or significant. But when I unite with you and with thousands of you, and if we all hit to the streets and we suspend business as usual, suspend it, we can impact, change. We can say the city is not going to move until this happens and that happens, and that's what we need to do. And eventually, people of working class people need to be empowered.
I like that example. I'm going to tell you this now. If 2 million people show up to the White House the same way the police show up to my house and tell me to get out, we can get his ass out.
Thank you. Yes, we can.
We got to show up with the eviction notice.
Yes, and it will only take, I really believe, 10 to 20,000 for DeSantis at the local level. It's not that many people. There's millions of us. I dream of that, and I just know that if we come together, we are able to be powerful and to push back and suspend business as usual until the needs of the people are met.
But this is an incredible push towards that end because you're letting people know what we can do, that we can do something. Alvaro.
Yes, they real briefly, they just to a glimpse, 1979, the Iranian Revolution. even though there are right now a lot of conflicts and rightful conflicts where women are fighting for the rights there. In 1979, they were fighting. Iranian people were fighting against colonialism, and when they had Ayatollah Khomeini in France, they had kicked him out of the country. He said, "I'm coming back."
Yeah.
The people came out in mass, and millions came out. The Shah brought out the army, brought out the tanks, brought out soldiers and guns and everything. And you could see them, they were surrounded by people to the point that they could do nothing.
Yeah.
In a tank, they could not do anything against the people. So, I don't see it as easy. I think that these people will pull out the army and will shoot and bomb and all that stuff, and it's not such an easy thing. Maybe the Shah had more sense, but in any case,
we will see.
We're getting there.
We will see.
People used to put flowers in the barrels of the guns of the soldiers. The soldiers were there.
Yeah. All right. Thank y'all so much. This has been the Life Malcolm Show right here on InTouch News Radio. I appreciate y'all hanging out with us as long as you have, and we'll see you next week.